My fiancée uploaded a reel dancing with her ex captioned. Some bonds never fade, Dizzy. I didn't argue. I just commented, glad you found closure. Then I canceled the wedding quietly, but everyone saw my comment first. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. You're overreacting. That's what she said. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Just, you're overreacting. And she said it with the kind of casual confidence that told me she'd rehearsed that line before. Maybe not for this specific moment, but for some version of it. A version she always knew was coming. I found out the way everyone finds out about things now. My phone. A notification. One of those little tagged-in alerts that pops up right when you're in the middle of something completely ordinary, completely unimportant, and completely undeserving of being the moment your life changes. I was eating cereal. It was a Wednesday. I remember because I had an early site meeting the next morning and I was already dreading it. And then, the notification. Brooke tagged you in a post. I tapped it without thinking. I didn't expect anything. She tagged me in things all the time. Sunsets she thought I'd like. Recipes she'd never actually make. Random memes that made her laugh at 11 p.m. So I tapped it the same way I always did. Casually. The way you open a door in your own house. The reel loaded. And there she was. My fiancée. The woman I was supposed to marry in 23 days. Dancing. Not alone. With him. Qley. Her ex. The one she'd always described as just someone I used to know. The one she'd said she'd completely moved on from. The one she'd told me, twice, maybe 3 times, was honestly not even someone I think about anymore. That Qley. Dancing with her. His hands on her waist. Her head thrown back, laughing. The kind of laugh she used to give me. Easy. Real. Unguarded. The song was one of those slow-building acoustic ones. The kind that makes everything feel cinematic even when it isn't. It was filmed beautifully. Golden hour light. Someone clearly knew what they were doing with a camera. The whole thing was 32 seconds long. I watched it 4 times. Not because I wanted to. Because my brain kept refusing to process it correctly. Like it was in a loop, searching for an alternate explanation, finding none, and starting over. And then I saw the caption. Some bonds never fade. That little star emoji at the end. That's what broke through the shock. Not the video itself. Not Qley's hands. Not her laugh. That emoji. Because it was deliberate. The whole thing was deliberate. She'd filmed it. She'd chosen the song. She'd written the caption. She'd tagged me. And then she'd posted it. I put my phone face down on the counter. I finished my cereal. I washed the bowl. I dried it. I put it back in the cabinet. And then I stood there in my kitchen for a long time. Just standing. Not thinking. Or maybe thinking too much. I'm not sure which. Here's the context, and I'll keep it short because honestly the context isn't the point. I'm 31. Brooke is 29. We'd been together 4 years before I proposed. 8 months engaged. Wedding in 3 weeks. Venue booked. Catering confirmed. Her dress was already altered. My suit was hanging in my closet. 214 people had RSVP'd yes. Qley had been gone, or so I thought, long before I entered the picture. They dated for about 2 years in their mid-20s. She told me it ended because they wanted different things. She told me he'd moved to another city. She told me they hadn't really stayed in contact. She told me a lot of things. I picked my phone back up. The reel was still open. 47 comments already. Heart emojis. OMG you too. This is so cute I can't. Wait, I thought you were getting married? That last one was from her college friend Priya. And it had 4 likes. I didn't call Brooke. I didn't text her. I didn't rage. I didn't type out a long message and delete it. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at the comment section for a moment. And then I typed. Slowly. Deliberately. Glad you found closure. For words. I posted it. I put my phone down again. And I went to bed. I know how that sounds. Calm. Calculated. Cold, even. But here's the thing nobody tells you about real heartbreak. It doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it walks in quietly, sits down across from you, and just looks at you. And you look back, and there's nothing to say, because you already know. My phone was at 112 notifications by the time I woke up. Texts from numbers I hadn't heard from in months. A missed call from her mother. 2 missed calls from Owen, my best friend since college. And a string of messages from Brooke herself. Starting at 11:47 p.m. What is that supposed to mean? Then at midnight. Can you call me please? Then 12:23 a.m. I don't understand what you're trying to do right now. Then 1:09 a.m. You're being dramatic. Then 2:41 a.m. Okay, fine. Good night. I called Owen first. He picked up on the first ring. Bro, he said. That's it. Just bro. With everything in it. Yeah, I said. I saw the comment, he said. I know. Half the internet saw the comment. I figured. Her cousin reposted the reel on her story with your comment screenshotted. I closed my eyes. Okay. You good? I thought about that. Not really. Do you want me to come over? Not yet. All right, he said. And he didn't push. That's the thing about Owen. He knows when to talk and when to just be there. And sometimes being there means being on the other end of a phone saying nothing useful because there's nothing useful to say. I called Brooke at 8:17 a.m. She answered immediately. Finally, she said. Her voice was sharp. Not hurt sharp. Defensive sharp. I need you to explain the video, I said. I don't owe you an explanation for a dance. There it was. Right out of the gate. Brooke. What? It was a fun moment. I filmed it. I posted it. That's it. With your ex. Cole is a friend. Since when? A pause. Since always. We've always been friends. You told me you weren't in contact with him. I said we weren't close anymore. That's different. Is it? Yes, she said. Firmly. Confidently. Like she'd already decided that these two things were different, and anyone who disagreed was simply wrong. What does the caption mean? I asked. It's just a caption. It means something. You wrote it. It means we have a long history and that friendship is still there. That's it. With your hands on each other. We were dancing. Why did you tag me? Another pause. Longer this time. Because I didn't think it was a big deal. Or, I said quietly, because you wanted me to see it. That's insane. Is it? Why would I want to start a fight 3 weeks before our wedding? I don't know, Brooke. Why would you? She made a sound. That specific sound she makes when she thinks the other person is being unreasonable and she's barely containing her frustration. I knew that sound well. You're acting like I cheated on you. I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? I thought about it. I'm saying your comment didn't have the same energy as someone who's posting a video of a friend. Silence. And I'm saying your caption didn't either. More silence. And I'm saying that the comment I left is exactly what I meant. What does that mean? She asked. Her voice had shifted. Less sharp now. Something cautious underneath it. It means what it says. Glad you found closure? What closure? I wasn't looking for closure. Maybe not consciously. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I saw. You saw a 30-second video. I saw enough. She called me cold. She called me passive-aggressive. She said I was embarrassing her by making a scene in the comments. I remember thinking that it was interesting that posting a dance video with your ex 3 weeks before your wedding wasn't a scene, but 4 words in the comments was. I didn't say that out loud. I just said, I need a few days. A few days for what? To think. There's nothing to think about. That's the problem, Brooke. And I hung up. Owen came over that evening. He brought food because Owen always brings food like it's a solution to emotional crisis, and honestly, sometimes it helps. We sat at my kitchen table, and he let me talk. I told him about the comment section, about her messages, about the call. He listened. He didn't interrupt. When I was done, he leaned back in his chair and said, How long has Cole been back in the picture? I'm not sure, I said. But he's been back. It wasn't a question. I nodded. She mentioned running into him about 6 months ago, I said. And I thought nothing of it. She said it was weird and awkward and she'd moved on, and that was that. But looking back at the last 6 months, I trailed off. Owen waited. She's been distracted, I said. Distracted how? Just not fully present. Wedding planning conversations that she used to be excited about started feeling like she was going through the motions. She'd get quiet sometimes and I'd ask what was wrong and she'd say nothing, just tired. And you believed her. I had no reason not to. Owen nodded slowly. Did she ever mention Cole again after that first time? Once. She said he'd reached out to catch up. And she told you. She told me. That's something, Owen said. Is it? He didn't answer right away. Maybe she was testing how you'd react, he said. And when I wasn't threatened, she took it as permission. Owen exhaled. I'm not saying that's what happened. But it might be. He looked at me. Yeah, it might be. The reel had 4,000 views by Thursday morning. Her cousin's repost, the one with my comment screenshotted, had 700 shares. I know this because Priya texted me directly. She said, I want you to know I'm on your side. What she did wasn't okay. Then, she's been acting weird for months. I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place. But I'm saying it now. I thanked her. I didn't ask her to elaborate. I didn't need to. I was already putting things together on my own. The conversation I keep coming back to. November. We were driving back from her parents' place. 2-hour drive. She was quiet for most of it. Not sleepy quiet. Thoughtful quiet. I'd asked what she was thinking about. She'd said, just life stuff. I'd left it. But then, about 20 minutes later, she'd said out of nowhere, do you ever wonder if you chose right? I'd glanced at her. What do you mean? Just, in general. In relationships. Whether the person you're with is the right person. I'd felt something small and cold settle in my chest. Are you asking me, or are you asking yourself? She'd laughed. Too quickly. Just asking. Philosophically. I let it go. I told myself it was just wedding nerves. Everyone gets wedding nerves. I didn't let it go anymore. Friday. I called the venue. I asked about the cancellation policy. The coordinator's voice went professional and careful. We need to retain 40% of the deposit. That's fine, I said. A pause. Are you sure you want to do this? You're quite close to the date. I'm sure, I said. And I was. I called the caterer. I called the florist. I called the photographer, a guy named Tate who I genuinely liked and felt bad calling because he'd cleared his whole weekend for us. He was decent about it. He said, I hope everything's okay. I said, it will be. I meant it. Not in the way you say it to end a conversation. In the real way. The way that means, it will be, eventually, even if it isn't right now. Brooke found out Saturday morning. I don't know who told her first. Maybe the florist called to confirm the cancellation. Maybe someone saw something on the venue's social media page where we'd been listed as an upcoming event. Maybe the universe just has bad timing. She showed up at my door at 10:43 a.m. I know the exact time because I'd been drinking coffee and I looked at the clock when I heard the knock. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her hair was pulled back the way she does it when she's not thinking about it. No makeup. She was wearing a jacket I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. That detail hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. Tell me you didn't, she said. I stepped back from the door. She came in. Tell me you didn't cancel everything. I canceled everything, I said. She stared at me. Without talking to me. You posted that video without talking to me. That is not the same thing. No, I agreed. It's not. She sat down on my couch. Not like she was making herself at home. Like her legs stopped working. You can't just cancel a wedding, she said. I just did. There are 200 people. I know. My dress is already. I know. Your parents already. I know, Brooke. My voice wasn't raised. I want to be clear about that. I wasn't angry. Not in the explosive way. I was just steady. And I think that scared her more than anger would have. Why? She asked. Quietly. The sharpness was gone. She just sounded tired. And sad. And young. Because, I said, sitting down in the chair across from her, I think you need to figure something out before we take that step. Figure what out? I looked at her. You and Cole. She opened her mouth. Closed it. There's nothing to figure out. You posted that video. It was just a video. You wrote that caption. It was just words. Brooke. She looked at the floor. You've been somewhere else for 6 months. I see it now even if I didn't see it then. You've been half here and half somewhere else, and I think I know where. That's not true. Then tell me what's true. Silence. Tell me nothing is going on with Cole, and I'll believe you. Silence. Tell me the caption didn't mean what it sounds like it means. More silence. And that silence was the most honest thing she said to me the entire conversation. I'm not in love with him, she finally said. Okay. I'm not. Okay. But, and there it was. The word that changes everything it follows. But what? I asked. She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I think running into him stirred something up. Something old. And I've been trying to figure out what that means. For 6 months. I didn't realize how long it had been. While we were planning our wedding. She flinched. I know. While I was putting deposits on venues and calling caterers and picking out rings and planning the rest of my life. I know. Did you consider telling me? Her eyes were wet now. I didn't want to hurt you. So instead you posted a video. I didn't think. No, I said. And this is the part where my voice did change. Not loud, but firmer. You didn't think. Or you did think, and some part of you wanted me to find out. One of those two things is true, and neither of them is okay. She cried. I let her. I didn't move to comfort her because I didn't think that was the right thing to do. Not because I was punishing her, but because sometimes the most honest thing you can do for someone is let them sit in what they've created. So that's it, she said eventually. For now. What does for now mean? It means I'm not making any permanent decisions today. But the wedding is off, I said. That's a permanent decision. It's a pause decision. She looked at me. I'm not calling 200 people back. telling them to re-RSVP, rebooking everything we just canceled, and walking down an aisle while you're still figuring out whether you want to be there. I want to be there. You don't know that right now, and that's okay, but I need you to know it before we get there. She left an hour later. She didn't slam the door. She just closed it quietly, and I sat in my apartment for a long time after that, just sitting, like the night I saw the video. Owen came over that night. I told him about the conversation. He listened the same way he always does. When I finished, he said, "How do you feel?" "Tired," I said. "That's it." "No, but mostly tired." He nodded. "You did the right thing." "I know." "You know?" "Yeah. Most guys would have either exploded or just let it go. Neither of those would have helped anything." He looked at me. "When did you get so calm about terrible things?" I thought about it. "I think the cereal helped." He laughed. I laughed. And it was the first honest laugh I'd had since Wednesday. The fallout came in waves. My mother called Sunday. She'd heard from someone. She wasn't angry. My mother's not the angry type, but she was worried. She asked me if I was okay. I told her I was. She asked if the wedding was really off. I told her for now, yes. She asked if I wanted to talk about it. I told her not yet. She said, "Okay, but I'm here." And I believed her. My father called an hour later. He was less gentle about it. "You need to be sure," he said. "I am sure." "About canceling? Or about her?" "About canceling," I said. "And about her? I'm sure I don't know." He was quiet for a moment. "That's honest," he said. "Yeah. Your mother likes her." "I know. I like her too." "I know. But that doesn't mean." "It doesn't mean anything right now, Dad." A pause. "Right," he said. "Right. Okay." He cleared his throat. The way he does when he has more to say and doesn't know how. "You know I didn't like your mother's ex either," he said finally. "I know. But she chose. And she never made me question that choice." "I know. That's all I'll say." "Thanks, Dad." Brooke's mother called Monday. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. Because her mother had always been kind to me, and she deserved the courtesy of a real conversation. "I just want to understand," she said. Her voice was carefully neutral. Not angry. Not defensive. Just searching. "I understand," I said. "She says you're upset about the video." "I'm upset about what the video represents." "And what does it represent?" I took a breath. "It represents 6 months of Brooke being somewhere else in her head while I was fully present in ours. And I don't think she was ready for me to see that. But I think she needed me to." Silence on the other end. "She loves you," her mother said. "I know she does. In her way. I know. But you need more than that." "Yes." Another pause. "You're a good man," she said. "Thank you. I'm sorry she hurt you." And I believe that. I believe that completely. Cole. I keep coming back to Cole because that's the part people keep asking about. Did I confront him? Did I call him? Did I send him some dramatic message? No. He wasn't the point. He never was. A lock doesn't fail because of the key. It fails because the lock was already broken. Cole was just the key. The broken lock was something Brooke and I needed to look at together. Something she maybe needed to look at alone first. Here's the thing about a relationship that looks perfect from the outside. Everyone sees the highlight reel. The nice apartment. The couple's photos. The engagement announcement with all the heart emojis. Nobody sees the November conversation in the car where your fiancé asks, philosophically, whether you chose right. Nobody sees the Tuesday nights where she's scrolling her phone with this expression you can't quite name. Nobody sees you convincing yourself it's just stress. Just pre-wedding nerves. Just life. Because you want to believe in the thing you're building. Because you've been building it for 4 years. Because you love her. And I did love her. I want to be clear about that. This isn't a story about a villain. Brooke isn't a villain. She's someone who didn't handle something the right way. Someone who got confused, and instead of bringing that confusion to me, she let it live in the dark until it found its own way out. That's human. That's messy. That's real. But it's also something I couldn't step around. Wednesday. 1 week after the serial. 1 week since the notification. I went back to the reel. It was still up. She hadn't taken it down. 214 comments now. I read a few. Most of them were people asking questions. Confused comments from wedding guests. A few supportive ones directed at me. A few that were cruel and directed at her. I didn't engage with any of them. But I noticed something. She'd never responded to my comment. "Glad you found closure." For words. 214 other comments. And she'd let mine sit there. Unanswered. Unreplied. Just floating there in the thread. Visible to everyone. I thought about that a lot. If she'd truly thought my comment was unfair, she would have responded. If she truly thought there was nothing to it, she would have laughed it off publicly. But she didn't. Because somewhere, she knew. She knew what those 4 words meant. And she knew that everyone reading them could feel it too. She texted me Thursday. Can we try counseling? I sat with that message for a while. Then I typed. Not yet. Maybe eventually. But right now I need you to sit with yourself for a bit. Not with me. Not with a therapist. With yourself. She replied. I'm scared of what I'll find. That was the most honest thing she'd said to me since this started. I replied, I know. But you need to find it anyway. She didn't respond after that. Not that day. Owen and I went to the gym Saturday morning. We lifted. We didn't talk about Brooke for the first 40 minutes. We talked about his work thing. His landlord situation. A show he'd been watching. Normal stuff. Then on the drive back he said, How are you actually doing? Getting there, I said. On a scale. 6 out of 10. That's better than last week. Last week was a 3. Solid improvement. I looked out the window. I keep thinking about whether I should have seen it earlier. The Qley thing. The whole thing. The distance. The November conversation. Looking back, there were signs. Don't do that. What? The whole I should have seen it thing. You trusted your partner. That's not a flaw. It feels like naivety. It's not. It's what you're supposed to do. I didn't respond. You're not supposed to interrogate the person you love for evidence of betrayal, Owen said. I know. Trust isn't naivety. Betrayal is a choice they make, not a mistake you make. I looked at him. When did you get philosophical? It's the podcast. It's changing me. I laughed. And it was an easier laugh than the last one. A 4 out of 10 laugh instead of a 3. Progress. 2 weeks after the video, I went to the venue to handle some final paperwork on the cancellation. The coordinator was professional, efficient, but as I was leaving, she stopped me at the door. I hope things work out, she said. One way or another, she added quickly, like she realized that work out was an ambiguous thing to say in this context. Yeah, I said. Me too. The mutual friends began choosing sides. Not dramatically, not with declarations, just quietly. The way friend groups always fracture. Gradual. Inevitable. Some stayed in Brooke's corner. That was fine. I understood it. They'd known her longer. Some reached out to me directly. A friend of ours named Callum texted me a simple, "That took guts. Hope you're all right." A couple named Theo and Ren sent me a care package. Actual physical care package. Snacks and a note that said, "We don't know all of it, but we know you wouldn't do this without good reason." That meant something. More than I expected. 3 weeks. The day that would have been our wedding day. I didn't plan anything special. I didn't mope. I didn't sit in the dark. I woke up at 7 a.m., made coffee, went for a long run. The longest run I'd done in months. Maybe a year. I'd been so wrapped up in wedding planning and life logistics that I'd let the runs get shorter and shorter until they were barely runs at all. But that morning I ran for an hour and 20 minutes, and I didn't stop once. When I got back, I was soaked through. Legs burning. Lungs burning. Heart still intact. Owen called me that afternoon. "How you doing on account of the day?" "Better than expected." Yeah. "What are you doing?" "Made soup." "Soup. From scratch. My grandmother's recipe." A pause. "You okay?" "Genuinely," I said. Yeah. "Good," he said. And that was it. Brooke called that evening. I picked up after 2 rings. She sounded different. Not desperate. Not defensive. Just quieter. Smaller. "I know what day it is," she said. "I know," I said. "I'm sorry." I let that sit. "For the video?" I asked. "For all of it," she said. "For the video. For the caption. For not coming to you sooner. For the 6 months. For letting it get that far." "Okay," I said. "Just okay. I believe you. But okay is what I have right now." A long pause. "Cole and I talked," she said. I waited. I told him it wasn't right. What I was doing. Chasing something old that didn't belong in my present. And he understood. He said he'd wondered if it was a mistake to come back. "Probably was," I said. "Yeah." Another pause. "I told him I was in love with you," she said. "And that I'd messed everything up." "What did he say?" "He said, then go fix it." I sat with that. "I'm not saying any of that fixes things," she said quickly. "I know it doesn't. I'm not calling to undo what happened. I just needed you to know that I've been sitting with myself like you told me to. And I didn't like what I found. But I looked at it anyway." "What did you find?" "Fear," she said. "Of what?" "Of how much I need you. Of how serious it is. Of how real it is. I think I was trying to find an exit door before I walked through the real one. Because the real one was terrifying." I closed my eyes. "That's not an excuse," she said. "I know. But it's the truth." "I know that too." We talked for a long time after that. Not about the future. Not about us. Just about everything we'd both been carrying. The things she'd been afraid to say. The things I'd talked myself out of noticing. The gap that had opened up between us and how we'd both tiptoed around it. And there was something in that conversation, something raw and unperformed, that felt more real than most of the things we'd said to each other in the last 6 months. I didn't take her back that night. I want to be clear about that. This isn't the kind of story where one honest conversation undoes everything. I'm not built that way. And honestly, I don't think that would have been fair to either of us. What I said was, I hear you, and I'm glad you told me. But, just, I need more time. Okay, and I need to know this was a real reckoning and not just the grief of losing the wedding day talking. I understand. Because grief makes people say a lot of things. I know. So give me time. How much time? I don't know. But I'll tell you when I know. A pause. Okay, she said. And I believed her. A month later, we had coffee. In person. A neutral place. Not my apartment. Not her apartment. A coffee shop 2 blocks from where we'd had our first date. I don't think either of us planned that. It just happened. She looked better than the last time I'd seen her. Rested. Settled. She looked like someone who'd been through something and come out the other side with at least some of the answers. We talked for 2 hours. About real things. About the patterns we'd both fallen into. About what we wanted. About what we were afraid of. About what it would take. Not what it would take to fix it. Just what it would take to know whether fixing it was even the right goal. I'm not going to tell you where we landed. Not because I'm being coy, but because honestly, at the time I'm telling you this story, we're still figuring that out. And some things deserve to stay between 2 people while they figure it out. What I will tell you is this. When I left that first comment, glad you found closure. I wasn't being petty. I wasn't performing for an audience. I wasn't trying to score a point. I meant it. I genuinely, completely meant it. Because I needed her to find it. Whatever it was. Whatever she'd been looking for in that golden hour dance, with that song, with that caption that she'd written and rewritten in her head before she finally posted it. I needed her to find it or to realize it wasn't findable. Either way, and then come back to me, or not, with clear eyes. People ask me if I regret the comment. If I would have done it differently. Handled it more quietly. More privately. The answer is no. Not because I wanted the internet's opinion on my relationship, but because sometimes the truth needs witnesses. Not to perform it, but because it makes it real. It makes it permanent. It makes it undeniable. When I typed those 4 words, something shifted. Not just for the people reading it. For me, it made it real that I was done tolerating ambiguity. Done making space for uncertainty that wasn't mine to carry. Done smiling in photos with a woman who was half somewhere else. And canceling the wedding quietly. Not in front of an audience. Not as retaliation. Not as a show. But quietly, 1 phone call at a time. Starting with the venue at 9 a.m. on a Friday. That was mine. That was me deciding. Not reacting. Deciding. There's a version of this story where I explode. Where I call her out publicly. Where I make a whole scene about the video and Qley and the caption and the 6 months of distance. Where I turn myself into the victim loud enough for everyone to validate. I've seen that version of other people's stories. And it never ends well for anyone. There's another version where I do nothing. Where I swallow it. Where I convince myself it was just a video. Just a dance. Just words. Where I walk down that aisle 3 weeks later and spend the first year of my marriage slowly realizing I'd already lost her before the ceremony. I've seen that version too. I chose neither. I chose the quiet version. The deliberate version. The version where I got clear before I got loud. The version where I said glad you found closure and meant it as both an ending and a beginning. An ending of my tolerance for being half-chosen and a beginning of whatever came after. The reel is still up, by the way. Last I checked. My comment is still there. Glad you found closure. 1,083 likes now. I checked once, and then I stopped checking. Because it's not mine anymore. It's just a thing that happened. A moment in time. A decision I made over a bowl of cereal on a Wednesday morning that changed the shape of my life. Priya texted me a few weeks ago. She said, "You know what the wild thing is?" She deleted the caption. Changed it to just a star emoji. No words. Just the emoji. Like she thought that would undo it. I read that message. I thought about it. And I typed back. Some things you can't uncaption. She replied with a single laughing emoji. And I put my phone down and went back to whatever I was doing. I'm still here. Still running. Still making soup from my grandmother's recipe on days that need it. Still figuring out what comes next. Not with urgency. Not with bitterness. Just figuring it out. The same way you do anything that matters. one deliberate step at a time. And if there's one thing I'd say to anyone in a similar place, not advice, not a lesson, just an observation, it's this. The moment you stop arguing with someone who isn't fully in the room with you, the moment you stop chasing someone who's looking somewhere else, the moment you go quiet and deliberate instead of loud and reactive, that's the moment you take yourself back. And taking yourself back isn't cold. It isn't calculating. It isn't overreacting. It's just honest. And honesty, done quietly, with 4 words in a comment section, can say more than 1,000 arguments ever could. Glad you found closure. For words, I meant everyone.